everyone. Today I'll be discussing my 10 favorite piano pieces. These 10 pieces are chosen based on the impact it has on me as a musician and from the context of the composer, who they were around, the performer who most influenced me, the teacher who best taught the piece, either in a master class or just from what I've learned from reading, and the story of how I came to learn that piece. This list it's very opinionated, and it gives the reader and listener a sense of the music that I hold dear. So, number 10 is The Art of the Fugue by Bach. This piece is a massive work spanning over 2 hours of Bach's final motive that he used. It was not written for piano specifically. It was written for anything. It has 4 voices, and they intertwine, they augment, they diminish throughout the entire work. They're even inverted, and the fugue it's quite perfect, the subject, and he uses this in various different ways in this entire piece, but my favorite performance of it would have to be Sokolov, the 2013 recordings. Number 9, sticking with Bach, would be the Prelude and Fugue in G sharp minor. There are just too many prelude and fugues to choose from, so I'm just choosing one that I really like listening to. And honestly, I could just put all of the prelude and fugues. BWV 890 is another good one. The A major from Book 1. So there's a lot of them, but specifically for this prelude and fugue, Gould's interpretation of it I like the most, which is not true about most of the prelude and fugues, but specifically that one I agree with. Number 8 has to be Beethoven's Eroica Variations. These pieces, I first discovered them when Yun Chen Lim played them in the Clyburn, and ever since then, different recordings such as Evgeny Kissin, and other times where it's been used in competition since. These pieces are they're amazing. These variations are amazing. They're based off of Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, and I really love the Beethoven fugue. That's one of my favorite types of classical music, is a true German fugue, and Beethoven really takes the cake with the ending fugue on this piece. Another really good mention would be the fugue in the Hammer Clavier. So yeah, it's just honestly really amazing. So number 7 would have to be Scriabin's Insect Sonata, Opus 70. This piece is very intense and very tender on both sides of the spectrum. It gets so colorful, and at times it's just the bare sketch of the motive, but he goes in and out of such textures very fluently. And we have a quote from Scriabin. It says, "Insects, butterflies, moths, they are all living flowers. They are the most subtle caresses, almost without touching. They are all born of the sun, and the sun nourishes them. This sun-like caress is is the closest to me. Take my 10th sonata. It is an entire sonata from insects. And so it's clear that Scriabin was influenced by the power of the sun bringing life. And that's essentially what happens in the inner climax of this piece. And I wrote here, it's a shame other composers write amazing music, otherwise this would be the top of the list. And because this piece is truly amazing. And my favorite recording would be Sofroninski's recording of it. Sofroninski was Scriabin's son-in-law, so I definitely agree with his interpretation the best. But there are other notable interpretations like Mikhail Pletnev, and Yu-Jawang, of course. Number 6 has to be Ravel's Gaspard de la Nuit. This piece is so good. It surpasses so many boundaries, and it's a story of a spirit, or I would say it's the story of a spirit, and that spirit has a multitude of emotions, from being birthed at the entrance to going through passionate anger and like full-blown falling in love, and to sadness and rejection in the second movement, a deep depression in that movement, and then finally it's angered from the rejection in Scarbo, and it's a very dark and scary piece of music. So it's so diverse, I would say, and the contrasts are very evident. It does almost sound like 3 different pieces, but when one listens to it with the intent to combine it all, then it truly becomes this sublime, large work. My favorite performance of it would have to be Alexander Malofeev in the Chinese International Piano Competition. I think that performance itself is probably just so expressive. It's the most expressive, so yeah. Number 5 has to be Prokofiev's Prokofiev's 8th sonata, piano sonata, opus 84. I did not like this piece for a while. I did not like Prokofiev for a while, but when I came to like Prokofiev, it was based on the complexity of his music and his impact on Russian music. And I grew to like it the more I grew to understand what music is. And it's the only way I can describe this piece is a massive oak tree with such rich, just imagine if an oak tree produced fruit. This would be the richest fruit ever. I mean, it's so juicy. It's so it's perfectly oriented. It's not anything like lavish and elegant. It's nothing like that, but it is so I guess the best way to describe it would be brute, but brute in a revealing way. He uses such amazing harmonies that flow throughout the entire work, and he's connecting things that never should have been thought to be connected. So yeah, and my favorite recording would be any recording by Sviatoslav Richter. Moving back to Ravel, number 4 would have to be La Valse. This is such a good piece. Simply because he somehow made this feel like a journey, but it's only an 11-minute piece. He made this piece feel like I'm going through so many different things. It feels like a symphony, and it is written and then transcribed for symphony, or I think, no, it was transcribed for piano, so it was written for symphony originally, but he writes this, even the piano transcription, to mimic what the symphonic writing does, and Ravel does such a good job of that anyways, especially in his mirrors, and his mirrors set. He has a lot of things that he's done. The infant piece that he wrote, the princess piece that he wrote. I mean, it's every time he transcribes from piano to orchestra, it does really well. So, and it's just one simple gesture of love. It's a waltz, and it works really well. So, I would just really love to play this piece one day, because I truly admire it. And my favorite recording would have to be from Beatrice Rana. I don't really agree with most of her, not most, I would say some of her interpretations, but this piece, she does a really good job. Sorry, I'm thinking of Katiana. Katiana is the one that I don't agree with most of the time. I think I always agree with Beatrice. She's always so mature in her performances. So, number 3 has to be Schumann's Fantasy. I first heard this work from my classmate when she played it, and at the time I didn't really understand it, but it was when I started to understand who Schumann was and the depth of his writing and what he was writing for that I grew to have a strong love for him. I would say that he's definitely become one of my favorite composers, if not my favorite. And at times it's hard to listen to him because his music is so passionate. But I would definitely think that the Fantasy has become my favorite. And it's because it's connected to Beethoven through his To the Distant Beloved Lieder. And that Lieder itself is my... I didn't have any room to put it on this list, but that Lieder, especially the Liszt transcription, the reason I like this piece so much is because it has tradition, it has history. It has history because of Beethoven, and then Liszt transcribed it for solo piano, and then Schumann used the same theme in his Fantasy, and that's all because of a distant beloved person. And for Schumann's case, it was Clara. And for Beethoven's case, well, I don't know who it was for, but I do know that he wrote it out of love. So, yeah. And on to our number 2 spot would have to be Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G major. I think, to me, this is the most peaceful piece of music. It's just perfect. It's very calm. It's very peaceful. It's very, as I wrote here, reminiscent of Chopin's Andante Spianato, which that itself is already extremely amazing. But I think the reason that this is better is, well, because it's later, and it's Rachmaninoff, and it has more complexity in it, I would say. While Chopin's writing is amazing, I would say it's amazing for his time. And for Rachmaninoff in his time, this is also amazing. Because we all know Rachmaninoff to be such a grandiose composer, but to write something like this, it takes a skill to take that which was so large and compile it into one small piece. And so it's very water-like. The melody is like dropping pebbles in a stream. It's absolutely amazing. So, and lastly, number 1 is nothing. Surprise! I put here because it is impossible for me to name my favorite piece. Any one of those 10, I think any one of those 9 pieces can be interchanged depending on how I feel. Number 1 can be, or number 2 could be number 5, and number 5 can be number 10. It's just a matter of what I'm listening to at the moment. We didn't even get into the cantata transcriptions and the Chopin ballades, and let alone any concerti, Beethoven bagatelles, all the 32 sonatas. There's just so much that this music has done to and for me. It's impossible for me to say what's my favorite. Yeah, nothing has taught me more than the notes that others have written, so I definitely love every piece of music, except for anything written after 1945. I do not like contemporary music, but yeah, we're not going to get into that rant. Anyways, have a wonderful day, and thank you for such an awesome semester. Love you guys. Bye-bye.